Racist cop insults Muslim family, then faces a shocking consequence. How will this story escalate? To find out, watch the video to the end. But first, please subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications to get more stories like this. The crisp autumn air was laced with the scent of freshly fallen leaves as the Al Hassan family drove through the quiet streets of Oakwood. For years, they had dreamt of opening a family-owned restaurant in this picturesque small town. The property they had recently purchased, a cozy corner building, was in dire need of renovation, but it held endless potential. It was more than a business venture, it was a symbol of their hard-earned success and resilience. Yusuf Al Hassan, a man in his mid-40s, was a proud father of 3 and a talented chef with years of experience in Middle Eastern cuisine. Beside him sat his wife, Amina, whose warmth and strength radiated even in the simplest gestures. In the back seat, their children, Layla, a spirited teenager, and the younger twins, Omar and Sammy, chattered excitedly about the restaurant's grand opening. As they approached their new establishment, they noticed a police cruiser parked nearby. Yusuf didn't think much of it. After all, they were new to the neighborhood, and it wasn't unusual for residents to be curious about newcomers. He parked the car and the family began unloading supplies. Just as Yusuf unlocked the front door, a sharp voice called out from behind them. "Hey, what are you doing here?" Turning around, they were met by a tall, broad-shouldered police officer with a stern expression. His badge gleamed under the afternoon sun, and his hand hovered dangerously close to the holster at his side. Yusuf took a step forward, his demeanor calm but firm. "Good afternoon, officer. My name is Yusuf Al Hassan, and this is my family. We're the new owners of this property." The officer's eyes narrowed as he scanned the family. "Owners? You sure about that?" Yusuf's calm smile faltered slightly at the officer's accusatory tone. Amina instinctively moved closer to her children, her protective instincts kicking in. Despite the tension, Yusuf maintained his composure. "Yes, officer," Yusuf replied, pulling out the deed to the property from his briefcase. "We purchased this building last month. We're renovating it to open a restaurant." The officer glanced at the papers but made no move to take them. Instead, he crossed his arms, his posture intimidating. "A restaurant, huh? You sure you're not planning anything else in there?" Yusuf's brows furrowed, a mix of confusion and frustration creeping into his expression. "I'm not sure I understand your question, officer." The officer's gaze turned cold. "Look, I don't know how things work where you're from, but around here, we don't just let anyone waltz in and start a business without asking questions." Amina's eyes widened at the blatant insult, but she placed a steadying hand on Yusuf's arm, silently urging him to stay calm. Layla, however, couldn't hold back. "That's not fair. We've done nothing wrong." The officer shot her a glare. "You need to watch your tone, young lady. And you," he pointed a finger at Yusuf, "better make sure everything checks out or we're going to have a problem." Yusuf took a deep breath, willing himself to remain composed. "Officer, my family and I are hardworking, law-abiding citizens. We've done everything by the book. If you'd like to verify anything, you're welcome to check with the town records." The officer smirked, clearly unimpressed. "Maybe I will. Don't think for a second that I won't be keeping an eye on you." Without another word, he turned on his heel and walked back to his cruiser, leaving the Al Hassan family standing in stunned silence. That night, as they sat around the dinner table, the atmosphere was heavy with unspoken thoughts. The joy and excitement they had felt earlier in the day were overshadowed by the encounter with the officer. Even the twins, who were usually full of energy, were unusually quiet. "Why was he so mean, Baba?" Omar finally asked, his innocent voice tinged with confusion. Yusuf sighed, his heart aching at the thought of his children being exposed to such hostility. "Sometimes people judge others before they get to know them," he explained gently. "But we can't let that stop us from pursuing our dreams." Amina nodded in agreement. "We'll prove ourselves through our actions. Kindness and hard work will always speak louder than prejudice." Layla, however, was less convinced. "But what if he comes back? What if he tries to shut us down before we even open?" Yusuf reached across the table to take her hand. "Then we'll handle it together. As a family." Over the next few weeks, the Al Hassans poured their hearts into the renovation. The once dilapidated building slowly transformed into a vibrant and welcoming space, complete with warm lighting, traditional Middle Eastern decor, and the mouth-watering aroma of spices wafting from the kitchen. Despite their progress, the officer's presence remained a constant source of unease. He often drove by, slowing down to glare at the family through the window. Once he even parked outside for hours, his imposing figure a silent reminder of his disdain. Yusuf refused to let the officer's behavior deter him. He focused on perfecting the menu, experimenting with dishes that would introduce the community to the rich flavors of his heritage. Amina worked tirelessly on the interior design, while Layla helped spread the word about the upcoming opening through social media. The day of the grand opening finally arrived. The restaurant was abuzz with activity as friends, neighbors, and curious townsfolk gathered to sample the Al Hassan's cuisine. The event was a resounding success, with customers raving about the food and atmosphere. But just as the family began to relax, the officer walked in, his presence casting a shadow over the celebration. Yusuf stepped forward, his smile unwavering. "Good evening, officer. Welcome to our restaurant. How can we help you?" The officer looked around, his expression unreadable. "I heard you were opening today. Thought I'd stop by and see for myself." "Of course," Yusuf replied, gesturing toward the tables. "Please make yourself comfortable. We'd be happy to serve you." The officer smirked. "I'm not here to eat. I'm here to inspect. Make sure everything's up to code." The room fell silent as the officer began his so-called inspection, his every movement followed by the eyes of the patrons. He opened cabinets, checked fire extinguishers, and even inspected the restrooms, all while muttering under his breath. When he finally returned to the dining area, he looked directly at Yusuf. "Well, it seems you've done everything by the book. For now." The insinuation was clear, but Yusuf refused to let it ruin the evening. "Thank you, officer. We appreciate your diligence." The officer's unwelcome presence at the restaurant lingered in the air even after he left. While the patrons resumed their conversations and meals, the Al Hassan family exchanged weary glances. Amina squeezed Yusuf's hand for reassurance, and Layla whispered to her brothers to stay calm. They had worked too hard to let one person's prejudice derail their dream. That evening, as the restaurant closed for the night, the family gathered around the kitchen table to reflect on the day's events. Despite the officer's intimidation, the grand opening had been a success. Customers had left glowing reviews on social media, praising the food and the warm atmosphere. "One step at a time," Yusuf said, his voice steady. "We've built something beautiful here, and no one can take that away from us." Amina nodded, her resolve unwavering. "And we'll keep building. This restaurant is more than just a business. It's a symbol of who we are and what we stand for." Layla, however, couldn't hide her frustration. "But it's not fair, Baba. Why does he get to treat us like this? Just because we're different?" Yusuf placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "I know it's hard to understand, Layla, but we can't let his actions define us. We'll show him and everyone else that we belong here not through anger but through kindness and perseverance." Layla sighed but nodded reluctantly. She admired her parents' strength, even if she struggled to embrace their patience. Deep down she knew they were right. Over the next few weeks, the Al Hassan family continued to pour their hearts into the restaurant. Word of their exceptional food and hospitality spread quickly, drawing in customers from all over town. The once empty dining room was now bustling with laughter and conversation, a testament to the family's hard work and determination. But the officer's harassment didn't stop. He showed up unannounced several times, each visit more invasive than the last. One afternoon he barged into the kitchen during the lunch rush, claiming he needed to inspect the premises for violations. "You can't be back here," Amina said firmly, her apron dusted with flour. "This is a restricted area." The officer smirked, his tone dripping with condescension. "I have the authority to go wherever I need to. Unless you have something to hide?" Amina's hands clenched at her sides, but she refused to let him provoke her. "We have nothing to hide, officer. But you're disrupting our work. Please respect our space." The officer ignored her, opening cabinets and inspecting equipment with exaggerated scrutiny. Yusuf entered the kitchen, his expression calm but resolute. "Officer, if you have any concerns, we'll be happy to address them. But this is a place of business and we need to serve our customers." The officer stared at Yusuf for a moment before finally backing off. "Fine," he said, his voice laced with irritation. "But don't think I'm done with you." Despite the officer's continued harassment, the Al Hassans refused to back down. They focused on their mission to bring people together through food, creating a space where everyone felt welcome. Their efforts didn't go unnoticed. Customers began sharing their experiences online, and the restaurant's reputation grew. One evening, a local journalist visited the restaurant to write a feature story. She was captivated by the family's resilience and the richness of their cuisine. "Your story is inspiring," she told Yusuf as she interviewed him. "It's a reminder of the power of community and perseverance." The article was published a week later, and it quickly gained traction. Readers were moved by the Al Hassan's journey and the challenges they had overcome. Many left comments expressing their support and admiration, while others vowed to visit the restaurant. But not everyone was pleased with the attention. The officer's animosity toward the family seemed to intensify, and his actions became more aggressive. One day he issued a baseless fine, claiming the restaurant had violated a local ordinance. "This is ridiculous," Layla exclaimed as Yusuf read the notice. "He's just trying to shut us down?" Yusuf sighed, his shoulders heavy with exhaustion. "We'll fight it, Layla. We've done nothing wrong and we have the proof to back it up." The family hired a lawyer to contest the fine, and the case quickly gained public attention. Supporters rallied behind the Al Hassans, organizing fundraisers and starting a petition to hold the officer accountable for his actions. The turning point came during a community meeting, where the officer's behavior was brought to light. Dozens of residents spoke out in support of the Al Hassans, sharing stories of the kindness and generosity they had experienced at the restaurant. The officer, who had attended the meeting, sat silently as the room filled with praise for the family he had tried to intimidate. "I've never felt more welcome anywhere," one customer said. "The Al Hassans have brought so much to this town. It's time we stand up for them." The mayor, who had been following the case closely, addressed the crowd. "Discrimination has no place in our community," she said firmly. "We value diversity, and we will not tolerate behavior that undermines our principles." The officer was placed under investigation, and the fine against the restaurant was revoked. The Al Hassans were overwhelmed by the outpouring of support, but they remained humble. "This isn't just about us," Yusuf said in an interview. "It's about standing up for what's right and creating a better future for everyone." The officer's investigation sent shockwaves through the small town of Oakwood. As news of his actions spread, more people began to come forward with their own experiences of prejudice and injustice. It became clear that the Al Hassan family's story was just one chapter in a much larger narrative. Meanwhile, the restaurant continued to thrive. Every table was filled with diners eager to try Yusuf's renowned dishes and show their support for the family. The once quiet corner building had become a vibrant hub of activity, a symbol of resilience and unity. Yusuf and Amina worked tirelessly to ensure every guest felt welcome. Layla, who had initially struggled to accept her parents' patience, found herself inspired by their unwavering commitment to kindness. She took on a larger role in the restaurant, managing social media and organizing community events. One such event was a charity dinner to raise funds for local organizations that supported diversity and inclusion. The restaurant donated all proceeds from the evening, and the response was overwhelming. The dining room was packed with people from all walks of life, united by a shared vision of acceptance and understanding. As Yusuf addressed the crowd, his voice was filled with gratitude. "This restaurant is more than just a place to eat. It's a place where stories are shared, friendships are formed, and bridges are built. Thank you for being part of our journey." The audience erupted into applause, their faces alight with hope and determination. It was a moment of triumph, a reminder of what could be achieved when people came together for a common cause. But even as the Al Hassans celebrated their victories, the shadow of the officer's harassment lingered. The investigation into his actions revealed a pattern of discrimination that extended far beyond the restaurant. He had targeted other minority-owned businesses, issuing unjust fines and making baseless accusations. The town's leaders knew they had to take action. The mayor called for a special hearing to address the officer's misconduct and determine the appropriate consequences. The hearing was open to the public, and the Al Hassan family was invited to share their story. The day of the hearing was tense. The family arrived at the town hall to find a large crowd gathered outside, holding signs that read "Justice for the Al Hassans" and "No place for hate." It was a powerful show of solidarity, but Yusuf couldn't shake the knot of anxiety in his stomach. Inside the hearing room, the atmosphere was charged with emotion. Residents took turns speaking, recounting their experiences with the officer and expressing their support for the family. Some spoke through tears, their voices trembling with the weight of their pain. When it was Yusuf's turn to speak, he stood tall, his voice steady despite the pressure. "My family came to this town with a dream," he began. "We wanted to share our culture and our love for food with the community. But instead of being welcomed, we were met with suspicion and hostility." He paused, his gaze sweeping across the room. "This isn't just about us. It's about the values we choose to uphold as a community. Do we stand for inclusion and respect, or do we allow prejudice to go unchecked?" His words were met with a standing ovation. The officer, who sat at the front of the room, shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his bravado replaced by a visible unease. The hearing concluded with a unanimous decision to hold the officer accountable for his actions. He was removed from his position, and the town pledged to implement new policies to prevent discrimination and promote equity. For the Al Hassan family, it was a bittersweet victory. While they were relieved to see justice served, they knew there was still much work to be done. "This is just the beginning," Amina said as they walked out of the hearing room. "We have to keep pushing for change." Yusuf nodded, his heart swelling with pride for his family. "And we will. Together." In the weeks that followed, the restaurant became a beacon of hope and inspiration. Customers continued to flock to the establishment, not just for the food, but for the sense of belonging it offered. The Al Hassans hosted cultural nights, inviting people to learn about Middle Eastern traditions and share their own stories. Layla, who had once been hesitant to embrace her parents' philosophy of kindness, became one of the restaurant's most passionate advocates. She organized a youth initiative to promote dialogue and understanding, bringing together students from different backgrounds to collaborate on community projects. The family's efforts were recognized at a town hall event, where the mayor presented them with an award for their contributions to the community. "The Al Hassans have shown us the power of resilience and the importance of standing up for what's right," she said. "They remind us that diversity is our strength." Despite the challenges they had faced, the Al Hassan family had built something extraordinary. Their restaurant was more than just a business. It was a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the transformative power of compassion. As they stood together in the dining room one evening, watching the laughter and chatter of their guests, Yusuf turned to his family with a smile. "We've come a long way," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "And this is only the beginning." Amina took his hand, her eyes shining with pride. "As long as we have each other, there's nothing we can't overcome." Layla nodded, her heart full of hope for the future. "And as long as we keep spreading kindness, we'll make a difference." The Al Hassan family's restaurant had become a symbol of resilience, not just for their community but far beyond it. Social media buzzed with stories of their triumph, and the narrative spread like wildfire. Influencers, food critics, and activists all chimed in, praising the family for turning adversity into a testament of unity and strength. What started as a small local story had grown into a national conversation about acceptance, equity, and the impact of prejudice. The increased attention brought waves of new customers. Each day, the line outside the restaurant grew longer, stretching around the block. People traveled from nearby cities and states, eager to support the Al Hassans and experience the now famous dishes. Many visitors shared their own stories of overcoming discrimination, creating a tapestry of connection that the family never anticipated. But as the restaurant flourished, so too did the challenges. With the surge of customers came logistical hurdles. The kitchen struggled to keep up with demand, and the dining room felt cramped despite its cozy charm. Yusuf, ever the optimist, saw these issues as opportunities. "This is a good problem to have," he reminded his family during one particularly hectic dinner service. "It means we're doing something right." Still, the pressure was immense. Amina worked tirelessly to ensure every plate left the kitchen with the same care and precision she'd always prided herself on. Layla took on more responsibility, managing reservations and streamlining the restaurant's workflow. Even the youngest members of the family pitched in, running errands and assisting where they could. One evening, as the restaurant closed for the night, the family gathered around their kitchen table to discuss the way forward. "We've outgrown this space," Layla said, her tone firm. "If we want to keep up, we need to expand." Amina hesitated, her mind racing with memories of how much work it had taken to open their doors in the first place. "Expanding is a big step," she said. "It's risky. But it's necessary," Yusuf interjected, his voice calm but resolute. "This restaurant isn't just about us anymore. It's about the community we've built. If we don't grow, we risk losing what we've created." The family debated late into the night, weighing the pros and cons of taking such a leap. Ultimately, they decided to take the plunge. They would expand the restaurant, creating a space that could accommodate more customers while preserving the warmth and authenticity that had made it special. The next few months were a whirlwind of planning and preparation. The family scouted potential locations, eventually settling on a larger space just a few blocks away. It was an ambitious project, but the Al Hassans were determined to see it through. With the support of their community, they launched a crowdfunding campaign to raise the funds needed for the move. The response was overwhelming. Donations poured in from around the country, accompanied by messages of encouragement and gratitude. "Your story has inspired me to be kinder and more understanding," one donor wrote. "Thank you for showing us what's possible when we stand together." Construction on the new location began soon after, and the family worked tirelessly to bring their vision to life. Yusuf oversaw the layout of the kitchen, ensuring it was equipped to handle the growing demand. Amina curated the decor, blending traditional Middle Eastern elements with modern touches. Layla organized a grand reopening event, inviting local musicians, artists, and speakers to celebrate the restaurant's next chapter. As the opening day approached, the family felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. They had poured their hearts into this project, and the stakes felt higher than ever. But they knew they weren't alone. The community had rallied around them in ways they could never have imagined, and that support gave them the strength to move forward. The grand reopening was nothing short of magical. The new space was filled with the aroma of freshly prepared dishes, the hum of conversation, and the sound of laughter. Guests marveled at the expanded menu, which included new recipes inspired by the family's journey. Every corner of the restaurant was alive with energy and joy. As Yusuf addressed the crowd, his voice was filled with emotion. "This restaurant started as a dream," he said, "but it's become so much more. It's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, we can create something beautiful. Thank you for believing in us and for being part of our story." The audience erupted into applause, their cheers echoing through the dining room. It was a moment of triumph, a culmination of months of hard work and perseverance. But even as the family celebrated this milestone, they remained grounded. They knew their journey wasn't over. The restaurant had grown, but so had their responsibility to the community. They continued to host cultural nights, charity events, and workshops, using their platform to foster understanding and connection. Meanwhile, the officer who had once sought to undermine them faced the consequences of his actions. The investigation revealed a pattern of abuse that extended far beyond the Al-Hassans, and he was ultimately stripped of his badge. The town implemented new policies to prevent discrimination, including mandatory training for law enforcement and public officials. The family chose not to dwell on the officer's downfall. "Our success isn't about his failure," Amina said in an interview. "It's about what we've built together and the lessons we've learned along the way." Layla, who had once struggled with anger toward the officer, found solace in her family's perspective. She channeled her energy into advocacy work, partnering with local organizations to promote diversity and inclusion. "Change doesn't happen overnight," she said during a panel discussion. "But if we keep pushing forward step by step, we can make a difference." The Al-Hassan family's journey became a beacon of hope for others facing similar struggles. Their story was featured in documentaries, articles, and even a best-selling book. But despite their newfound fame, they remained humble and focused on their mission. "We're just a family who loves to cook," Yusuf often said. "But if our story can inspire others to stand up for what's right, then we've done something worthwhile." The restaurant continued to thrive, serving as a gathering place for people from all walks of life. It was a testament to the power of resilience, the strength of community, and the transformative impact of kindness. As the family stood together in the dining room one evening, watching the laughter and chatter of their guests, Amina turned to Yusuf with a smile. "This is what it's all about," she said. "Not the food, not the success, but the connections we've made." Yusuf nodded, his heart full. "And it's only the beginning." Months after the grand reopening, the Al-Hassan family's restaurant had become an icon in the town and beyond. The media attention brought waves of new opportunities, including partnerships with culinary organizations, offers to host cooking shows, and invitations to speak at events. However, the family remained steadfast in their mission, using their platform to inspire change and create a space where everyone felt welcome. One of the most significant moments came when Yusuf and Amina were invited to deliver a keynote address at a national diversity and inclusion conference. The theme was Building Bridges, and the Al-Hassan family was recognized as a living example of what the conference stood for. Standing before a packed auditorium, Yusuf shared their story. "We didn't set out to become symbols of resilience," he began. "We just wanted to share our love for food and culture. But life has a way of teaching you that every challenge is an opportunity to grow." Amina added, "We've learned that the most powerful ingredient in any recipe is love. It's what drives us to keep going even when the road gets tough." Their speech was met with a standing ovation. Attendees approached them afterward to express their gratitude and share how their story had inspired them. "Your journey gives me hope," one woman said, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for showing us the veil." Back at the restaurant, the Al-Hassans continued to innovate and adapt. They introduced a rotating menu that featured dishes from different regions of the Middle East, allowing customers to experience the rich diversity of their heritage. Each dish came with a story, written on the menu, explaining its cultural significance and the memories it evoked for the family. One night, a group of high school students visited the restaurant as part of a school project on cultural awareness. Layla took the opportunity to speak with them, sharing her own journey of embracing her identity and standing up against prejudice. "It's not always easy," she admitted, "but it's worth it. The more we understand each other, the stronger we become." Her words resonated with the students, who left the restaurant not only with full stomachs but also with a deeper appreciation for the importance of empathy and understanding. As the months turned into years, the Al Hassan family's influence continued to grow. They were invited to collaborate on community projects, including a public mural that celebrated the town's diversity. The mural, painted on a prominent building near the restaurant, depicted scenes of people from different backgrounds coming together to share meals and stories. Yusuf and Amina also launched a scholarship program for aspiring chefs, prioritizing students from underrepresented communities. "We want to give others the chance to pursue their dreams just like we had," Yusuf explained during a local news segment. The scholarship recipients often visited the restaurant to thank the family and share their own aspirations. "Your story showed me that anything is possible," one student said. "I hope to make a difference in my own way just like you have." The family's journey wasn't without its challenges. The restaurant's success attracted its share of critics, including those who resented the family's growing influence. Social media trolls occasionally targeted the Al Hassans, spreading hateful messages and attempting to undermine their efforts. But the family refused to be deterred. "We've faced worse," Amina reminded Layla during one particularly difficult week. "And we've come out stronger every time." Yusuf took a proactive approach, hosting workshops on combating online harassment and fostering digital resilience. The events drew large crowds, further cementing the family's role as leaders in the fight against prejudice. The most profound impact, however, was on the town itself. Oakwood had transformed from a place of division to a model of inclusion. Inspired by the Al Hassans, other local businesses began hosting cultural events and promoting diversity in their own ways. Schools incorporated lessons on empathy and social justice into their curricula, using the family's story as a case study. One evening, as the family gathered around the dinner table, Layla reflected on how far they had come. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if we'd given up?" she asked. Yusuf smiled, his eyes filled with pride. "We wouldn't be here, that's for sure. But we didn't give up, and look at what we've built." Amina nodded, her gaze sweeping over her family. "It wasn't easy, but it was worth every struggle. And it's not just about us, it's about everyone who's been part of this journey." Layla, who had once been so angry at the injustices they'd faced, now felt a profound sense of peace. "I'm proud of us," she said softly. "And I'm excited to see what's next." As the Al Hassans looked toward the future, they knew their story was far from over. The restaurant had become a beacon of hope, but there were still so many stories to tell, so many bridges to build. Together, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with the knowledge that love, resilience, and community could overcome even the darkest of days. The journey that had begun with a single act of prejudice had blossomed into something extraordinary, a testament to the power of standing together and refusing to let hate win. And for the Al Hassans, that was just the beginning. With each passing year, the Al Hassan family's influence grew beyond anything they could have imagined. The restaurant was no longer just a place to eat. It had become a cornerstone of the community and a symbol of hope and resilience for people all over the country. But with their success came a new set of challenges, ones that tested their strength, unity, and the very values they stood for. One day, a prominent food critic visited the restaurant unannounced. Known for her blunt reviews and unforgiving standards, she had a reputation for making or breaking restaurants with a single article. Amina and Yusuf were initially nervous but quickly decided to treat her like any other guest. "Our food speaks for itself," Amina said confidently as she watched the critic take her seat. The meal was served with the same care and love that had always defined their cooking. The critic sampled the dishes meticulously, her expression giving nothing away. As she finished her meal and prepared to leave, Yusuf approached her table. "Thank you for visiting," he said warmly. "We hope you enjoyed the experience." The critic smiled, her eyes softening. "You've created something truly special here," she said. "It's not just the food, it's the atmosphere, the warmth, the sense of belonging. It's rare to find a place like this." When her review was published the following week, it was nothing short of glowing. She described the restaurant as a testament to the transformative power of food and community, praising the family for creating a space that celebrated diversity and connection. The article brought a surge of new customers, many of whom traveled long distances just to experience the magic of the Al Hassan's cooking. As the restaurant continued to thrive, Yusuf and Amina began to think about the future. They wanted to ensure that their legacy would endure, not just for their family but for the community they had worked so hard to build. One evening, during a family meeting, Yusuf brought up the idea of expanding their impact beyond the restaurant. "We've built something incredible here," he said, "but I think we can do more. What if we started a foundation to support other families like ours, people who've faced adversity and want to create something meaningful?" The idea resonated deeply with the family. They envisioned a non-profit organization that would provide grants, mentorship, and resources to aspiring entrepreneurs, particularly those from marginalized communities. "It's our way of giving back," Amina said, "of helping others turn their dreams into reality." The Al Hassan Foundation was launched a few months later, with an inaugural event that brought together community leaders, activists, and supporters from all walks of life. The foundation's mission was simple yet profound: to empower individuals to overcome obstacles and build a better future for themselves and their communities. The foundation quickly gained traction, receiving an outpouring of support from donors and volunteers. Its first project was a mentorship program for young entrepreneurs, pairing them with experienced business owners who could guide them through the challenges of starting and running a business. Yusuf and Amina personally mentored several participants, sharing the lessons they had learned on their journey. One of the program's success stories was a young woman named Fatima, who dreamed of opening a bakery that celebrated her African and Middle Eastern heritage. With the foundation's support, she was able to secure funding, develop a business plan, and launch her bakery to great success. "The Al Hassans believed in me when no one else did," she said during a local news interview. "They showed me that my dreams were worth pursuing." Back at the restaurant, the family continued to innovate and evolve. They introduced cooking classes, inviting guests to learn how to prepare traditional dishes and hear the stories behind them. The classes were a hit, attracting food enthusiasts, families, and even local schools. "It's not just about the food," Layla said during one class. "It's about the stories, the culture, and the connections we create when we share a meal." The restaurant also hosted regular community events, from cultural festivals to fundraisers for local causes. Each event brought people together, fostering a sense of unity and belonging that had become the hallmark of the Al Hassan's work. But even as they celebrated their successes, the family remained vigilant against the challenges that came with their visibility. Hate mail and online harassment occasionally reared their ugly heads, serving as a reminder of the prejudice they had fought so hard to overcome. Yet the family refused to be silenced. They used their platform to speak out against injustice, advocate for change, and inspire others to stand up for what was right. Their resilience earned them widespread admiration, and their story continued to resonate with people from all walks of life. They were invited to share their experiences on national talk shows, at international conferences, and even at the United Nations. Each opportunity was a chance to amplify their message and inspire others to take action. One of the most poignant moments came when Layla received an email from a former classmate who had once mocked her for her heritage. The classmate apologized for her behavior, admitting that she had been influenced by ignorance and prejudice. "Your story opened my eyes," the email read. "You've taught me the importance of empathy and understanding. Thank you for being so strong." Layla was moved to tears as she read the message. It was a reminder that even the smallest actions could have a profound impact, sparking change in ways she never anticipated. The Al Hassan family's journey had taken them from adversity to triumph, but they knew their work was far from over. As they continued to grow their restaurant and foundation, their focus shifted toward ensuring their legacy would inspire future generations. They wanted their story to serve as a blueprint for overcoming challenges and building bridges across divides. One of their most ambitious projects was a documentary about their journey. A renowned filmmaker approached the family with the idea, believing their story needed to reach a global audience. Initially hesitant, Yusuf and Amina eventually agreed, seeing it as an opportunity to inspire people worldwide. The documentary, titled Breaking Bread, The Al Hassan Story, chronicled their struggles, victories, and the profound impact they had on their community. The film captured intimate moments of their family life, the challenges of running a restaurant, and the transformative power of their foundation. Interviews with community members, customers, and scholarship recipients painted a vivid picture of the family's influence. When the documentary premiered at a major film festival, it received a standing ovation. Critics praised it as a powerful testament to the human spirit and a reminder of what's possible when love triumphs over hate. The film went on to win several awards and was streamed by millions worldwide. The documentary's success brought even more attention to the Al Hassan's work, leading to new opportunities and collaborations. They partnered with schools to create curriculum materials based on their story, emphasizing the importance of empathy, resilience, and cultural understanding. The materials were adopted by schools across the country, reaching thousands of students. One particularly impactful moment came when a teacher shared a letter from a student who had been deeply affected by the Al Hassan story. The student wrote, "I used to feel ashamed of my background, but your story showed me that it's something to be proud of. Thank you for helping me see that my differences make me strong." The letter reminded the family of why they had embarked on this journey in the first place. "It's not just about us," Yusuf said as he read the letter aloud. "It's about everyone who feels like they don't belong. If we can help even one person feel seen and valued, it's all worth it." As the years passed, the family's influence continued to grow, but they never lost sight of their roots. The restaurant remained the heart of their work, a place where people from all walks of life could come together to share a meal and connect. They expanded to a second location in a neighboring city, ensuring the same warmth and authenticity that had defined their original restaurant. Yusuf and Amina also began training the next generation to take over the family business. Layla and her younger siblings played an active role in the restaurant and foundation, learning the values that had guided their parents' journey. "This is your legacy," Amina told them one evening. "It's not just about the food or the restaurant, it's about making a difference." The family's work reached a new milestone when they were invited to meet with world leaders to discuss their approach to promoting inclusion and combating prejudice. Standing in a room filled with influential figures, Yusuf reflected on how far they had come. "We started with a simple dream," he said, "to share our love of food and culture. But what we've learned is that even the smallest dreams can spark the biggest changes." Their words resonated deeply, leading to initiatives that replicated their model in communities around the world. The Al Hassans became global ambassadors for inclusion, their story serving as a beacon of hope for countless others. In their hometown, the family remained beloved pillars of the community. One evening, as they gathered to celebrate the restaurant's 10th anniversary, customers and community members surprised them with a heartfelt tribute. The event featured speeches, performances, and a mural unveiled in their honor. The mural depicted the family standing together, surrounded by scenes of unity and resilience. At the center was a quote from Yusuf: "Love and understanding are the most powerful ingredients in any recipe." Moved to tears, Amina addressed the crowd. "This isn't just our story, it's all of ours. Together we've built something beautiful, something that will last for generations. Thank you for being part of this journey." As the celebration wound down, the family reflected on everything they had accomplished. They had faced unimaginable challenges but had emerged stronger, more united, and more determined to make a difference. "This is just the beginning," Layla said, her eyes shining with hope. "There's so much more we can do." And with that, the Al Hassan family looked to the future, ready to continue their journey of love, resilience, and transformation. For them, the story of breaking bread was far from over. It was only the start of a legacy that would inspire the world for years to come.